This is the fourth of the Fiducia recorded webinars, looking at how DLT technology can solve some of the challenges of transparency in the programmatic supply chain. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into the technology to understand the results it drives. To help me discuss this subject, I have with me Igor Alferov, co-founder and CTO of Fiducia. Welcome, Igor.
Thanks, Nick. Hi.
So diving straight in, advertising publishers have access to a lot of data through all of their platforms, but do they have access to all the data?
Yes, that's true that tech platforms usually provide reporting to their clients, and in many cases they are providing not only aggregate reports but also an impression log files. Advertisers usually can extract data from buy-side ad servers, DSPs, and verification systems. Publishers can get data from their ad server verification systems and sometimes from SSPs. That seems fine, but what we discovered that unfortunately buyers and sellers in fact see completely different data sets provided by their platforms. What advertisers see in the buy-side reports and log files may be substantially different from what publishers see in reports of sell-side platforms. Another issue we faced was gaps in availability of log files data, which made it hard to answer even quite as simple questions. For example, as an advertiser, you may want to understand who are my suppliers. In fact, in an open marketplace, the information about publishers and SSPs may be simply missing. In some cases, you may see thousands of websites which run your ad campaigns without knowing the legal entities behind them. And when it is unknown who operates a website and there is no compliance checks around it, there is a risk that advertising will be displayed in an unsafe context. It can even lead to supporting questionable businesses by allocating advertising budget toward them. So another question for advertiser might be, what am I paying to my suppliers? There may be contract terms agreed on paper, but is there a way to truly verify that delivery happens according to these terms? And recent ISBAN AIP industry study demonstrated that it is really hard to answer them. They commissioned PwC for the study, and after a year-long analysis, PwC came up with a statement that there is 15% of unknown delta between buy and sell side in the supply chain. They also claimed that the low-level data between sell-side and buy-side platforms could only be matched for 12% of impressions. So yeah, then the next question is, importantly, what exactly am I buying? In the majority of marketplaces with intermediaries, for example, in real estate markets, the buyer can verify what he bought when he receives an asset. In digital advertising, they are trading asset, which is a delivery of an advertising impression to a human. And the only way to verify the quality of this delivery is to perform some technical measurements using the capabilities of consumer device or operating system. In EdTech, such measurements are done only by specialized verification systems and delivery systems. As an advertiser, you have to trust them. You have no other choice. You need to use input from these systems to understand what you bought. And unfortunately, it creates a lot of opportunities for manipulations, uncertainty. So you're really uncertain regarding the actual quality of advertising delivery. And in DLT pilot, we found that viewability rates determined using the same standard by different verification systems may be having up to 20% discrepancy. In some cases, we also detected significant discrepancies in number of reported impressions, number of reported clicks, even publisher domain names between some platforms. We created a unified impression qualification criteria, which takes into account reconciled data from multiple platforms, and discovered that at average 34% of impressions were either non-qualified or non-viewable. So it just presents a scale of the problem. And we believe that to be assured about advertising delivery quality, advertisers cannot trust the data from a single platform and need to match and combine the data from multiple platforms. It protects them against possible data manipulations. It will allow to analyze impression quality, cost, and discrepancy data using the single reconciled data set. Then let's think about the advertising delivery data accessibility from the publisher standpoint. And is it really easy for a publisher to answer questions like, is my inventory being filtered by advertisers and how can I avoid that? Other potential buyers for my inventory and what compliance requirements I need to satisfy for them. And other excessive take rates in the supply chain between me and advertiser, which reduce my revenues. So we received the market feedback that these questions are hard to answer. In fact, in programmatic marketplace, we see an information asymmetry problem where buyers and sellers cannot answer important questions because they lack access to required data, and it results in erosion of trust. So yeah, I think that's kind of a problem statement here.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on a lot of the outputs and challenges. How does your platform solve these?
Yeah, so we were commissioned by GQApps, which is now merged with Stack, to run a DLT pilot and validate the value of distributed ledger technology in addressing industry needs. The concept of the DLT initiative is the launch of an industry consortium network governed by industry trade bodies to deliver so-called shared truths. So you can think about shared truths as a single data set which all trading parties have access to and agree to use an authoritative system of record for their accounting. This data set is created using input data from multitude of advertising planning, delivery, and measurement platforms, and secured using distributed ledger platform against unauthorized access and modifications. The advantage of applying distributed ledger is that industry stakeholders create shared truths directly between them without the need to share data with any third parties. And another advantage is that recorded data is immutable. With the data immutability in place, all parties are assured that no one can tamper with the data and they can use it safely, even for critical business processes such as billing. As part of our journey, we realized that implementing a distributed ledger network for programmatic advertising really is not an easy job. So we had to address a couple of major challenges with our platform. So the first one was the log level data records matching. So when we have a log file from two platforms and we want to merge them, we need to have a way to deterministically match these log files records. Unfortunately, there is no readily available solutions in the industry for that. And we have to build and test a software that we call a reconciliation SDK. It is a piece of code which is installed by publishers on their websites and allows the mapping of log file record IDs between all vendors involved in advertising supply chain for impression delivery. So another challenge is getting access to the data itself, getting consent from responsible parties. So the legal agreements in regards of data access are quite complicated, and it took us a long time and effort to get access to the data for the pilot. And to address that in the platform, we created a system of digital access policies so that network participants can actually manage access to the data over a user-friendly interface. Then one more problem is that data comes from various sources and from various vendors in different formats, and sometimes there is ambiguity in interpretation of data fields. We spent time to address that. We spent time building data connectors for every major ad tech platform to apply data harmonization from the vendor-specific format to a common network format. For participation in the DLT network, it actually allows ad tech vendors to keep reporting the data and log files in the way how they report them today. They will just need to support a minimum set of data fields and avoid ambiguities in their interpretation. Then finally, one more challenge, we realized that participation in the DLT network as a data provider or data consumer needs to be easy and shouldn't consume a lot of resources. So to address this, we will be providing a self-service interface so that even non-technical staff can configure network nodes, data inputs and outputs. And by solving these issues, we believe that DLT network will provide participants with an access to shared truths on the digital advertising delivery using the single interface and in near real time. This interface may be used to export data to a preferred data warehouse or data visualization software. And it is just one single integration, which will provide a full visibility over all end-to-end advertising delivery. So you can imagine how it will solve the problems that we stated.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a huge amount of data that's within the platform. There's been a lot of discussion about whether DLT can support the programmatic ecosystem. Can you kind of give us a sense of how it is possible?
When we started building the platform, it was obvious that pushing all impression data to the ledger would be too expensive and it would have a throughput limit. So we decided to take another approach by combining processing of data off ledger and on ledger in a way that will allow us to keep actual data authenticity and immutability guarantees provided by a DLT, but at the same time, it will be cost effective and won't have these throughput limits. The idea here is to batch log level transactional data into chunks for small periods of time and only write digital signatures and metadata of these chunks to the ledger. Raw data chunks are shared between network participants off ledger using network cloud storages, and their authenticity and immutability is verified based on compact ledger records. One of the advantages of distributed ledger network is the ability to execute smart contracts on top of this data. We support smart contract execution for impression data by splitting processes of off-ledger data processing and on-ledger signing of the results for this processing. When two or more parties are executing a smart contract for impression data, they receive the data off-ledger, verify its authenticity and immutability using on-ledger records with their metadata. Then they independently calculate smart contract results based on the data and submit these results to the ledger. And if all parties are aligned on this result, then it is finalized as a mutable record with a smart contract result. Otherwise, they run through a discrepancy resolution protocol, which is also predefined in the smart contract. And during DLT pilot, we tested that this approach and this platform actually scales linearly, and it can support processing of petabytes of programmatic data at a reasonable cost.
Okay, so you touched on the fact that there's a huge amount of business critical information that's being stored. Obviously, privacy is a key part, and privacy and security is a key part of this whole process. Can you give us a sense of how the platform ensures that?
Security is a key reason why we believe distributed ledger technology is a future-proof solution for the industry. When data is supposed to be used in sensitive processes such as billing, it needs to be protected against manipulations and forging. So DLT guarantees that all data shared within the network is immutable and no one can change historical records. It means that all activities are reliably auditable and network participants can be made accountable for their actions. Knowing that data privacy is crucial, we also implemented end-to-end encryption for all shared data so that only intended parties with proper data access consents can read it. Information is therefore shared on a need-to-know basis, and even the network governance board or network operator cannot read clients' data without their explicit permission. And in addition to that, the network will be permissioned, which means that all participants need to sign a network master agreement and comply at all times with a minimum set of requirements to be a network participant considered as a trusted business partner. All network participants have individual cryptographic keys and use them to sign all network activities, and it ensures that traceability of any activities back to responsible legal entities. And we believe that adoption based on these features, the adoption of the DLT will allow industry stakeholders to securely share data and reduce their exposure to data security risks.
Yeah. And then finally, technology teams are under huge time pressure at the moment. How can this technology create opportunities rather than just adding another platform that needs to be maintained?
Yeah, that's a good question. Imagine that a DLT network is launched and you have all advertising delivery data reconciled and available for you through the single secure API. So you can upload this data to a data warehouse for analysis, and you are assured that this data was not manipulated. Firstly, it enables previously unavailable level of campaign and yield optimizations, as you are getting reconciled data sets which combine financial compliance and quality impression data provided by various platforms all together. With the GQueb's DLT pilot, we estimated potential improvements of ROI for advertisers and revenue for publishers to be in double-digit percentages if they start to optimize campaigns using reconciled data sets. This data sets surface information which is not readily available today, such as discrepancies, supply chain finance data, compliance requirements, and metrics. And secondly, with the DLT infrastructure in place, technology teams can start building new products for business processes automation using smart contracts functionality. The smart contracts allow organizations to agree and put the logic of how they want to execute their ad campaigns into a software code, which will be automatically executed and enforced by their network nodes. For example, a publisher and advertiser may sign an insertion order in the form of a smart contract, which will be automatically determine and cross-verify billable impressions based on reconciled data from delivery platforms and generate IOU records in the ledger as a legally binding financial obligations between the parties. And we believe that it creates a lot of opportunities to optimize other processes, leveraging accessibility of reconciled advertising data, distributed ledger security, and smart contracts, such as compliance plus procedures, negotiation of new deals, and even execution of actual payments over DLT. And overall, we believe that it creates a tremendous opportunity for creation of new products and process automation to reduce legal, operational, and financial costs for all industry stakeholders.
That was fascinating. Thank you so much for your time, Igor.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you very much.